to the Speedway Tavern, come and have your say.
3 clubs in British Speedway, all in different parts of the country, but linked by one thing. They've all experienced the joy of winning the league championship. Bradford won Britain's first elite league way back in 1997. 21 years later, Workington won the championship after a brilliant 2018. Then 12 months later, Swindon added to their list of titles by winning the 2019 Premiership by a final. Except they've now got another dubious link. None of them were able to defend their title. Bradford never came back to the tapes in 1998, Workington failed to return in 2019, and we all know what's happened to Swindon, although Workington offer hope with their successful return this year. Well, last night, my club Wolverhampton secured their 6th appearance in the Premiership playoffs in the last 7 years, which suggests something to build on for 2024. Except as things stand, we could be adding to the teams not able to defend their title. Is it time British Speedway started to stand up to itself a bit more, before nobody is around to win anything at all? Only in Speedway.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening. We've started another show yet again on a downer. So you had some news last night then?
Yep. The news, obviously, it was expected. I think I've sort of had a vibe for a few weeks that was the way things were heading. But obviously it was officially confirmed in the programme that Wolves won't be coming to the tapes in 2024. The plan obviously is still ongoing to try and find a new site. I believe that I know for a fact that there are things going on in the background to try and make that a reality, and there's a lot of cautious optimism, I say, from the Bulls promotion that can happen, but it's not going to be ready for 2024, and whilst there was nothing on the cards for that, there was no way in a million years Wolves were going to be able to go back to Entane and ask for another year at Monmouth. So that's it for Monmouth this season. Britain's oldest speedway track will close its doors to Speedway for the final time in October 2023. So bitterly disappointing. Devastating for a lot of supporters, including myself, who've been certainly supported the club for such a long time and enjoyed so many great memories of watching Speedway at that venue. But ultimately, we just got to sit now and wait and hope that something can happen in 2025 and enjoy, the bits of Speedway that we can see next year. And obviously, of course, try and enjoy the rest of the season and hopefully go up with a bang by bringing another league title back to the Black Country. Yeah,
and we've got to hold out hope, haven't we, that, in a year's time that Wolverhampton will be back, because, I was looking at the pictures from last night's meeting and the crowds.
I've got to say, the crowd was brilliant last night. It was like an old-style Black Country meeting, Black Country derby. I know it wasn't a Black Country derby because it was against Sheffield, but it was like an old-style sort of Dudley Wolves trophy meeting. Great atmosphere, big crowd. Sheffield brought a lot of fans. They made a noise. They were obviously a lot of chanting, but it was all done in good nature. And what was nice as well, I didn't realise this, but the Sheffield fans were chanting support for Wolves. Obviously, they're getting a new track, which is certainly very much appreciated, and it made for a really good atmosphere, and it was a comfortable win in the end. But there was some pretty good racing in the meeting last night as well.
Of course, Ty Woffington making his return.
Yeah, I've got to say, the first 2 races, he looked like he'd never seen the track before.
Right.
I wonder whether maybe he was testing a few things for Cardiff, because he certainly had a lot of speed in his bikes that he bought. So whether there was an element of testing things ready for Saturday, it remains to be seen. But
did he get a good reception?
He got a pretty good reception. Which was nice. Obviously, he's still appreciated well by a lot of the Wolverhampton supporters, and of course he will be back again. Because I suspect Sheffield will be coming back to Monmore Green in a few weeks' time for the semi-final of the playoffs.
Well, moving on for a little bit, because I've got something I need to get off my chest.
Oh dear. It's going to be one of them shows.
This is our last show, by the way.
Yeah, last ever show.
It might be mine. Well, no. Right, because obviously I've been holding on to this since last Wednesday, when Birmingham got absolutely, I can't even think of the right word, what Scunthorpe did to Birmingham.
Ripped to shreds.
Any of those. So I'm not I'm not a person that believes that riders come out to fail or to not try. I don't ride a speedway bike. I do ride a bike, but I don't ride a speedway bike. I've never ridden on a speedway track, so yeah, it's very difficult for me to comment from knowledge of what a track is like and what it isn't like. However, looking at evidence, such as the first race being won by Josh Pickering in the fastest time of the season, and most of those times were pretty quick last Wednesday, mostly by Scorpion riders, it has to be said. And so I don't like calling out riders for not trying or any of this thing, because I don't really believe a rider gets on one of those rockets in order to not try. And also, I was always brought up that if you can't say anything good, then don't say anything at all. So anyway, that being said, this is my opinion on last week's match. Have I said enough?
People are all going,
It was,
sounds gone.
It was, well, I have to say, right from the start of the meeting, the attitude just all felt wrong, didn't it? You know, Scunthorpe made a good. They are a good side, Scunthorpe. I mean, they've had a good record at Birmingham this season. Admittedly, most other teams have come to Birmingham and done well,
Exactly.
but I just felt their heads dropped far too quickly from a lot of riders in the team. I think they were beaten by the track. Yeah, the track was the same for both sets of riders ultimately.
Exactly.
And really, I think, you could tell certainly in the voice from Nigel Tully when he was talking after the meeting. You could really sense there was a real anger from his side of things. There was absolutely no excuses for the level of the capitulation, and it's happened far too many times at Birmingham this season. And ultimately, really, since they came back to the championship in 2019, there's been far too much of a losing mentality at Birmingham, and that really has to change.
It's got to change next year. It's absolutely. I mean, without putting too fine a point on it, and I don't like saying what I'm about to say. Birmingham have got an opportunity next year, because we think they're probably going to. We don't know. This isn't official, but reading between the lines, we think they're probably going to be moving to Fridays, which is going to be a better night from the point of view of people going to watch them. I know there are going to be problems if we need to get guests. We probably will, because we always seem to.
Yeah.
But also, of course, and I really, I wish I wasn't saying this, but the other opportunity is there's a speedway audience just down the road that are going to lose their speedway for hopefully just a year. So there's an opportunity to pull that in to swell the crowds, you would think.
Yeah. It would be interesting if there's a possibility of Birmingham getting hold of some of the Wolves riders, actually.
Well, that's in my mind as well. I've long wanted to have Luke Becker in the team. I think he'd go. I think he'd be great in the championship.
Just one point of warning I would say. The one thing I don't think would be a good thing to happen would be, and I think it was tried by the previous promotion a couple of years ago when there was an opportunity for fans of Cradley and Coventry to come to the stadium with a Coventry or Cradley programme board and get in for a discount, but your home fans have to pay the full price now. That's something that I don't think they should be doing.
No.
I know you want to get the better crowds in, but you've got to do it in a way that doesn't, rub people's noses up the wrong way. And I think, to be fair, I remember at the time that did. I think a lot of Birmingham fans weren't happy with that. You've got to make sure that you keep your own fans happy as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. I could possibly go a meeting to get people there to watch some speedway, and then hopefully, so if you've got a Wolverhampton board or whatever, you can come for half price for one meeting, for the first meeting.
Yeah.
I could possibly go for that, but not, no.
I did have a Wolverhampton programme, but it didn't survive its last visit to Birmingham, unfortunately. So, all those years ago.
Wow.
Can we quickly say well done to Ben? We did talk about it last week on his charity walk.
Of course.
Made it all Maston over halfway. He said it was harder than he ever imagined.
But halfway, come on, Ben, you can do it. You can do it. We're all behind you. How much have you raised, mate? So far, we'd really like to know. Duncan Pemberton, Evening People. I know it's a completely different era, but in the 50s, the sport went down to 9 tracks and recovered. Just trying to have an optimistic view.
Much better now.
Yeah. Everything's possible. You know, everything's possible, but things have got to change.
Yeah.
Things have just got to change.
I think what's in there really is this perception of how many clubs that have gone and they've said, well, they're going to be back in a couple of years, and so far. I mean, look at Reading, Exeter were another club, Swindon have been another club. They've gone, have not managed to find a way back yet.
Coventry's still trying. Rye House were going to be back.
Yeah.
Pat Moore absolutely gutted. Just hope we can come back. Excellent meeting last night. Robin Greenwood was at Wolves last night with the Ben 2 Barmy Army. Great crowd to see Ty return and a great reception. Wolves outgated us. We were the one chanting, Sam singing, stand up to save the Wolves. Good night, despite the result.
Good lads, I've always had a lot of respect for Sheffield as a club, and I've got, are really, really well supported, and I've got a lot of time for a lot of the Sheffield fans. And one of my favourite tracks as well, a really, really good racetrack, Sheffield. I've enjoyed my visits there, and hopefully I'll be going to watch Sheffield again at some point in the future.
Pete Clark says, "Go for it, Mike. Don't hold back." I'm not holding back. I think the riders should be ashamed of themselves. Really do, with possibly 2 exceptions. Certainly one exception, and we should mention Josh Pickering. Wow, what a rider he's certainly at this level.
Absolutely. Well, he's absolute box office, isn't he? He's one of those riders that every time he comes onto the track, you just feel something's going to happen. It
reminded me of the old Jason Lyons days.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So you always, whenever Jason Lyons didn't gate, you'd hear an intake of breath of, "Oh, this is going to be good." Elliot Hunt, sad news about the Wolves. Hope we can come back stronger in the future. We had a superb win last night, set us up for a good battle in the playoffs, potentially against Sheffield. We should mention that. Congratulations, because you have got through to the.
Yep, we have. 6 times in 7 years, which is, or 6 times in 7 seasons, of course, which is a fantastic level of success, and hopefully this time we can get past the semi-final without getting thumped. So.
Got to be one league now. Where do the riders go from? Wolves and Peterborough, and the farce with Ellis and Kerr out. Holder, Vissing in, Laguta at Peterborough. Silly season all round. Yes,
I think it almost feels like with Peterborough. I think they've pretty much given up the ghost as well, haven't they? In return, in getting back for next year and finding another venue, it just almost feels like we'll just. Spend loads of money on the team, try and make it as strong as possible and finish on a high. They've had it's been a terrible season for Peterborough, although on paper now they don't have a bad side. They had a thumping win against Sheffield last week, which was really impressive, and of course the victory last night over Ipswich as well. So they've sort of started to improve a little bit, but it's just too little too late for them. Yeah.
Great to see Laguta riding in this league, but it would have been nice for it to have been a bit earlier.
Yeah.
We had all this talk last week of, were the riders coming in for the playoffs and so on, and it sort of proved a little bit to be true. And Chris Holder is another
one, yeah.
Want to wish Louis Kerr all the best, having signed for Leicester, but can't help feeling he has been definitively head done by. Think Ellis exit was on the cards and hope Chris Holder can produce the goods.
Well, I think certainly Lewis Kerr last night would have been, a real trump card for Sheffield at reserve, because he's done well at the track the last 2 or 3 times he's been there. So, but obviously, certainly wasn't expecting that when Sheffield had their 2 reserves out in the first stage and got a 5-1, which was quite something. Certainly wasn't expecting to go on and dominate the meetings to the extent that we did.
Possibly the news might have had something to do with people's determination.
I think so. We've obviously been poor for say not poor. We haven't lost any of these matches, but we've been sort of sailing a bit close to the wind in the last 4 or 5 home meetings. So it was just nice to have a home meeting where you can sort of get to the end of the meeting and relax a little bit because you've won the meeting and not have to worry about the.
Can you tell me what that's like? Winning the meeting, for instance.
Yeah.
It must be nice. Jeff Daniels, sad news about Wolves. We'll miss the Aces/Wolves meetings and banter between the fans, hoping for a quick return to the track for the club and fans and Speedway.
I certainly next year we'll look to maybe have a couple of visits up to Bellevue on bank holidays. I mean, it's obviously not going to be the same if it's not going to be in my own club, but just want to try and make sure that I keep me eye in the top league. So
I'm about to have an argument with your dad.
Mm-hmm.
So Brian says, sorry to keep repeating myself, parrot fashion, but unfortunately one combined league isn't possible. It might be the only thing possible.
Might be forced into it.
Yeah, I mean, there might be no choice at all.
Why would he say this? It's not possible?
Because it's a case of bringing the bottom leagues up and the top leagues down on level wise, and evening it all out, and also the limits of how many riders that are available. So it's going to mean riders, teams like Wolves, well, not Wolves now, unfortunately, will end up with not very. I mean, it's going to be very topsy turvy, isn't it? You're going to end up with possibly a great heat leader and a wobbler at the back, maybe. Yeah. But unfortunately, it might be the only way forward. Yeah. So the concern, as much as Brian says it's not possible, it might be the only thing that is possible. So I'm not saying it's ideal. I'm not saying it'll be hard. I'm not saying
you need to have a situation where there's going to be a competitive league as well. I think really the big problem at the moment with the championship is the fact that the top teams now are just driving the cost up for everybody else, and everybody else is having to spend money that they don't necessarily have to try and keep up with that.
It's a bad league, is it not? Where a team could possibly make the playoffs that has only won one match all season. Which obviously Birmingham, I think that ship sailed now, but that was the situation that we was in. That's not a good league, is it?
No.
It's just not. So that needs, whatever else happens, that needs to be sorted out as well. Dean Machiner, as I commented earlier, who are we fighting against? The council, Entain, or are we only being told part of the story and we are being attacked from within? Until we know the full picture, we cannot forge our attack. I think we're past that. I think we're more in the situation of now that's gone. Where do we go to?
Yeah,
essentially.
There's I can categorically say this now, and CBS has made this pretty clear. There's absolutely no way back for Wolves at Monmouth Green now. The only way would be a dramatic change of heart by the owners, but there's no indication whatsoever that that's going to happen. You never know. I mean, you never know. We might be sitting here in a few weeks' time and we might be looking forward to Wolves racing in 2024, but I would say that's very, 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 very unlikely at the moment.
Ben Clifton, with Ark involved, I can't see Brum last many more seasons at Perry Bar, neither can I. And it is worrying. I know things are moving in the background.
Yep.
Nigel Tolley's sort of intimated as such.
Who Ark?
They basically own the Greyhounds.
Yep. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know there are things moving in the background. I know Nigel Tolley's got plans and stuff, and at the moment all I can say is in Tolley we trust.
It's not in his riders we trust, is that what you're saying? Just to break off, there is a meeting obviously going on tonight down at Plymouth, and it is currently Plymouth 34, Exeter 32, and that's after heat 10, after heat 11 even, sorry. So very close down there. Peterborough, obviously Edinburgh's probably a meeting that they're going to really need to win to sort of guarantee their place in, or move a long way towards guaranteeing their place in the top six.
Paul Kavanagh, a good meeting at Peterborough last night. Bomber was on fire. He took heats off Saifutinov and heat 15 off Doyle on the last corner. Does that guy never stop?
I think I've said in the past, I think you could stick landmines all over the track and Bomber and go flat out round him, wouldn't he? So he's just.
Sorry, can you get? Thank you. Ben Cook also rode really well. Ben Cook's really come on.
He's a good little rider. I like Ben Cook.
Laguta, a shadow of his former self, only 1 point. I think we possibly need to give Laguta a little bit of time, more time than he's probably got actually.
Yeah, probably.
Because I don't imagine he's had many competitive races really.
Not really, obviously, since the what's gone on obviously in Europe. So
Simon Corbett, no riders should be allowed back in to do a part season once their overseas commitments allow. I sort of agree with that. I would change it a little bit. I know no rider should be allowed back in to do a part season once their overseas commitments allow, unless it is to replace an injured rider. That's the only difference I'd make to that. Jeff Daniels, for me, I'm thinking AC's Wolves grand final after Sheffield's latest team changes. Chris Holder passed his best and Vissing is a poor signing. There is a reason why he's not riding in the Premiership before, and weak reserves. Also, Chris Holder hates Monmore, which doesn't bode well for semi-final.
Not his favourite track, I will say. His brother's certainly much more competitive around Monmouth than Chris is.
David Albright, and why don't Wolves share with Birmingham? Just a thought.
Non-goer.
Why?
I think if that was a consideration, it would have been considered. But as far as I'm aware, it hasn't been.
I don't
understand why.
Well, because we haven't got the dates available. It's as simple as that. You can't. You'd have to run on. You'd have to run on the same night.
Yeah.
You'd have to run on the Wednesday or the Friday. So with this,
And to be brutally honest, I'm not convinced Wolves fans would travel to Birmingham. Certainly not. Some would. I think in the initial period they probably would, but over the course of the season, it's
particularly on a Wednesday.
It's an awkward,
well, it might be a Friday, of course.
Yeah, I mean it's an awkward part of the city to get to, unfortunately. So.
I'm pretty sure Josh Pickering said he wasn't a fan of Perry Barr when he first came to the UK. This is by Michael Jukes, by the way. But the way he rides around there, you'd never know. Matt is correct. He's absolutely box office around there each week he rides.
Yeah, he actually started to look better around Monmouth Green last night as well, because Monmouth's not a track that he usually suits him. Pete
Clark says that Pickering was finding a quick racing line around Perry Barr, but the usual home riders were riding elsewhere and blaming the track. We've got to say that Pickering is pretty much a home rider at Perry Barr, because he's ridden the last 3 meetings on the track, 3, 4 maybe.
I think certainly for a lot of Birmingham fans, he would be an ideal target to look for to snap up in the winter for the 2024 season.
It won't be easy to get, because I don't imagine. Who's he riding for now? Is it
Edinburgh?
I don't imagine Edinburgh want to let him go. You've just gone past one I would like to. So Ipswich or Leicester to go semis, says Reginald Barker. I'm putting that to you. That's your league.
Read that to me again.
It says Ipswich or Leicester to go to the semis.
Ipswich.
Question mark.
I think Ipswich. I think Leicester, since they've made the team change, just seem to have imploded. I mean, obviously they're obviously at Monmouth Green next week, but Leicester for me at the moment are, I think they looked pretty much a shoo-in at one stage, didn't they? But obviously, as I say, they've made the changes, and since then, I mean, they got a 5-1 against us in the last stage at Leicester a couple of weeks ago, and it made it look right, reasonably close meeting, but it certainly wasn't. We weren't there at a canter.
Duncan Pemberton says not to mention the pay rates for one league. Well, that'll all have to be bashed out, won't it? Ben Clifton says this is interesting one, actually. There could be as few as 10 BSPL clubs next year. British Speedway's future will be with Nora League, especially if the rumoured tracks are reopening. I want to hear more about that.
Yes, I would as well.
Yeah. Has anyone done a calculation to work out how British-based riders would be available and eligible for next, and the basic numbers of teams left without the riders doubling up? I don't imagine they have. Again, I just come back to this. It might be the only option they've got, and if it is the only option, they either make it work or they don't make it work. And if you don't make it work, you've got no Speedway.
Yep.
Malcolm Bethel, why not for 1 year?
Is this on Wolves sharing with Birmingham?
Yeah.
I guess so. Well, I think we've answered that. The dates are just not available.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, the rather cynical side of me as well looks at it and thinks that the owners of Perry Barr don't really want Birmingham there. So I think they want a second team there as well, even if it's only for 1 year. And of course, even if it's only for 1 year, there's no guarantee, of course, that in 2025 a new Wolverhampton track will be open. So do you then move it on to 2 years? Do you then keep going on and of course, don't forget as well that the BSBL do seem to be trying to determined to phase this option of 2 clubs sharing one track out, which is probably a little bit of cutting off your nose to spite your face a little bit.
Possibly, yeah. Brian Buck says Wolves did have a bit of a blip in recent weeks, but largely got away with it because of the superheat, which you must be a fan by now. Sheffield and Ipswich look suspect, and Leicester seem to have completely collapsed. So I can only see a Bellevue versus Wolverhampton final. Would you agree with that?
At the moment, yeah, it looks the likely one.
Okay. And Duncan Pemberton says Exeter. For some reason.
Likes it there. It's got a holiday home there.
Yes, we're okay.
I don't think many riders liked it there, did they?
That was a track, wasn't it?
I think you have to have your wits about you around there, didn't you?
Exeter Falcons, I believe.
Yeah, with their steel fence.
Yeah,
Steel fence.
Yeah. You imagine that now, can't you? So
yeah. Ouch.
clanging into that at 70 miles an hour.
It's the noise it makes as well.
Yeah.
Very close at Plymouth, with them beating Edinburgh by 2 points after 11 heats. Hope Plymouth can win. I'm guessing the reason you want Plymouth to win is because there is still a very slim chance of Birmingham getting. I'm going to say this now. I don't want Birmingham to get to the playoffs. Just don't. What would the point be?
I think the feeling now amongst the Birmingham fans is just can't wait for the season to end, really.
Like last season? Or the season before?
Pretty much, yeah. Simon Corbett, how can Bewley guest for Lawson? Answers on a postcard. Brian Reeson couldn't believe the racing between Emil and Jason in Heat 13 last night at Peterborough, so close at high speed.
It's very busy on the show box, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It is indeed, yeah.
Oh, can't keep up.
Okay, and Elliot Hunt says you can go 5% of a rider's average when at home. Bewley is 0.11 higher than Lawson. So that's your answer there. Fred Graham, when we have a look at tracks that have closed recently, the annoying thing is the tracks are still there. Newcastle, Swindon, Eastbourne, Ryehouse and Wolves will be the same. Does the BSBA do more as a group to get this highlighted to the government? Sit down with all parties to get these issues resolved and retain them as sporting stadia for Speedway?
That's why I said in my intro, I think it's time really that British Speedway started to stand up for itself a little bit more.
It needs a single voice, and it hasn't got that.
Yeah.
It just hasn't. It's got lots of little. No, this is my track. No, this is my track. No,
Yeah.
I'm doing this for my. That's what it's like.
Yeah.
We've had an sort of insiders look a little bit as to what goes on at these BSPA meetings, because Nigel Tully's said a few things, and basically it's a lot of people having a go at each other. It's not how it should be. You're trying to nick my rider. Yeah, he's good. Of course, I'm trying to nick him.
We shouldn't laugh because it's probably a lot of it is close to the truth, really. I mean, the one thing that you look at a lot of these clubs that have gone is that they have been viable. Coventry was certainly viable. Cradley was definitely viable. My club's viable.
God, yes,
without a shadow of a doubt. But any club now that doesn't own its own stadium has almost got a noose hanging over its neck, just waiting for somebody to come and put it in place.
Tracks in fields, guys. Tracks in fields. Stop.
You can be as viable a bit. I mean, you can be as viable a Speedway club as anything. But if the owner of the site comes along and says, "I'm selling it," or "I just don't want you here anymore," you've got really not much to do. You can't really do anything about it.
No.
Duncan Pemberton says the way it is going, the only sure thing is Chris Harris will get a winner's medal as he races for everyone anyway.
Well, he won't have anywhere to race the way things are going. So.
He might be racing in both teams at the way.
Yeah.
I could see that. He'd guessed in for one team at one leg and the other team at the. He could only in Speedway, but it could happen. There's no real reason it couldn't.
Did I say Plymouth v Exeter?
Did you? Oh dear.
If I didn't, yeah.
Well.
Well, one's in Devon, one's in Scotland. There's a bit of a difference between Exeter and Edinburgh. So
just a little.
We were talking about Exeter earlier, so probably had Exeter on the brain. So
And somebody's agreeing with you there.
I don't quite.
Well, there's a first time for everything. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is agreeing with me. I'm reading it and I'm not quite sure what he's agreeing with.
He's forgotten.
Yeah. Mike agreeing with what Aces did last season with Lambert replacing an injured rider in Frick.
Yeah, that's
when
what
his
you're
league
saying.
was
You're
finished.
bringing back riders coming in to replace a rider that's injured.
Yeah, I'm with there now. Yeah, I think if the rider's injured, I want to see 7 riders in the team rather than rider replacement or guests any day of the week. Pete Clark, 2 clubs at Perry Bar never. Having to put down and pick up sheets on the dog track twice a week will become a full-time job, unpaid full-time job.
God,
I mean, that's another side of it as well.
Yeah.
That is another side of it.
It didn't really work with Cradley running there as well, did it?
Not great, no, not really. Lawrence Rogers, why did Matt say it's difficult to get to Perry Bar from Wolves? M6 to Junction 7 and down the A34. No roadworks, etc.
To be fair, I don't come from Wolves to go to Perry Bar, of course, because I work over in Tyseley, and it's difficult enough coming over from Tyseley. But the M6, you know, he's sometimes he's not the nicest of roads to drive on.
And to all of the fans out there listening, Tyseley is somewhere in the West Midlands.
Yeah, just about.
Yes.
And that stretch of the M6 can sometimes be the road from hell.
Martin Dugard.
Certainly can at that time. He's only can on a Sunday, never mind in the week. So.
I know, yeah.
Right, I'm getting annoyed now. Martin Dugard stated there won't be Speedway at Eastbourne again as they're looking to build there. So, nearly swore. Yeah. So what? It's like you said, stand up for yourselves.
Yeah.
You know, this is a sporting stadium with heritage and history. They should not be knocking them down. I'm sorry.
Can you pretend to swear? I've got it ready now.
Okay.
Ready?
It didn't work.
It didn't work. You can't get the staff.
Oh, please.
Malcolm Bethel, no help from Sport England.
Is there?
I don't know. Have they asked? Have they been there and said, "Can you give us some help, please? We need it."
If you don't ask, you don't get. So
I wonder if Sport
this is why they need a proper CEO that can go and do that stuff. That hasn't got to go to a committee and say, "Should we do this?" Should we? Well, no, on my track you're trying to gain my rider. I mean, you know, because that's. As Fred Graham says, all of these tracks are still in situ, but we can't force their owners to rent them out for Speedway if they're determined not to.
Exactly.
And Pat Moore, Wolves only team not changed side loyalty from management and riders. Is that true?
Yep. Wolves have always been very, very loyal to sometimes possibly too loyal for their own good on occasions in the past, but.
Okay, so Paul Griffiths, no chance of Stoke returning. Oh,
sorry. There we go.
There we go. Big warehouse with no one in. What chance of Bradford coming back? Track ready to go at
Odsall.
The
track is ready to go at Odsall, but you know, as I've said,
is there more to that message?
No, that's it. Sorry.
Unfortunately, as I've said many times, that the issue that you have at Odsall is whether it's viable for league racing, because it's such a big stadium that you can get a decent crowd in there, but in a big stadium like that, it just looks lost.
All a bunch of gonks.
Yeah.
Brian Buck remembers to wish ex-Brummie stalwart Arthur Payne a happy birthday. He was 100 years old yesterday.
Birthday, Arthur.
Wow.
I don't know.
Yep.
Crikey.
Well, that's good going.
Yep, he's old as Mike.
Nearly. Ben Clifton, Spedworth have a 10-year lease at Arlington. It's going nowhere anytime soon. The stadium prints money on big nights. That's another way of doing it.
I think Eastbourne's biggest problem was that they just got themselves into such a mess, didn't they, at the end? So lot of that needs to be sorted out first.
Yeah, they need to get the gonks out and get everybody, somebody in that knows what they're doing. Rich Thompson, Swindon has houses with gardens virtually backing onto the track now, so they won't run there again. I mean, the promises that they were made.
And so many of us called it out, didn't they? Saying, I don't think this is going to... Oh, it is, don't worry, stop worrying, But as it's turned out, Swindon haven't been able to get back.
They just once money talks, money talks.
Interesting as well, say, gardens virtually backing onto the track. That was what was the case at Exeter, wasn't it? Because we've had a lot of people that did actually used to sit in there, sit in the gardens in the deck chairs and watch the speedway.
They used to do that at Newcastle as well.
They did that on the back straight at Crowley, didn't they? On the I think it was Scotswood Road. I think it was Scotswood Road. I'm thinking of it. People always used to get a bit of a crowd that used to stand on the hill and watch. They could only see part of the track, but they used to get somebody watching for free. So
yeah, a bit like watching Formula One.
Yeah.
I can't believe have we caught up?
We finally have about
Wow,
35 minutes.
And YouTube, anything on there while we're at it? We should check that out.
Sorry. I think, no,
nothing on there.
Darren Reynolds, hi chaps, for one season only, consolidate. Both teams welcome the Birmingham Wolves. Oh dear.
Well, we have a Birmingham Speedway supporter here and a Wolverhampton
Should have put that.
and a Wolverhampton Speedway supporter here.
do you know what? It certainly wouldn't surprise me if Birmingham maybe starting if Birmingham do run next year. If Birmingham starts off with a challenge match against Wolves, or a Wolves
Or a
select team.
three-team tournament between
4-team tournament with Coventry as well.
Yeah, Birmingham, Coventry, Wolves, and Cradley.
Yeah.
That would be
Super team.
that would be quite good.
Super team, yeah.
Well, there's a bit of a disagreement here between Lawrence and Scott because and Simon. Simon's said it's Scotsman's corner. Lawrence has said Scotsman's bank. So
There's a lot of Scotsmen involved, whatever.
yep, Dudley Woods. Yeah.
Rich Thomas' problem is no Speedway for 4 years means noise complaints to start with. Yes.
Exactly.
But, you can get past that. We did at Birmingham.
Yeah.
We had to travel through many hoops, but we got there.
Yep.
And no, doesn't seem to be a thing. If they ever sell those houses that were supposed to be for the Commonwealth Games, those flats opposite, that
They're
might
not built.
change.
They're not finished yet, are they? I don't think.
don't think
When
they
the
are.
Commonwealth Games was it last year? Was it?
Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah.
last
Still,
year.
yeah. Okay, so there was a big meeting this week. The how is it now? Let me get this right. The Championship
Riders Championship.
Yeah,
Pardon?
the Championship League Riders Championship. I think.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah, God.
And that's between who? The champion?
The best riders from the championship.
Yep.
Have I got that right?
Yep.
Phew. And there was a winner.
Oh, thank
Charles
you.
Wright, of course, winning it.
Yeah,
So
which I think is probably much deserved. He's
he's had a good season. Charles Wright,
season.
very, very good season. I haven't seen any of the meeting, unfortunately.
No, I
but
didn't
believe was it streamed? I think it might have been streamed, mightn't it? So,
I think it was, yeah.
yeah.
Is that a relatively new competition, or is it something that's...
No, it's been going on for years.
Oh,
Goes on,
right.
It used to, at one stage, it used to be a secondary only to the World Final, didn't it? Because it used to be an event that all the top riders rode in, and all of them wanted to win. But
It used to be three big events, didn't there? The League Riders Championship,
Yep.
which is what it should be called.
Yep.
The British Final.
Yep.
And the World Final.
Yep.
Right, okay.
All of which every single one of which have gone down in stature, in my opinion. But there you go. Graham Plant, there's
Won the
a
first
name.
one in
Won the first one in
1968.
1968. Good God, I'm sorry to say I actually saw him ride. Oh well. Elliot Hunt says I was there. Elliot Hunt gets to, I tell you what, he gets to some
He
meetings.
does watch all the meetings, doesn't he, Elliot? So.
I was there, cracking racing throughout. So many competitive races, big crowd too. It was streamed through the BSN.
Oh, right, okay.
So I imagine you can still get that. You can probably still pay for that and get that.
Where was it held?
Red car.
Red
Red
car.
car.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Home advantage obviously for Charles Robb, but he made it pay. So made it count, I should say. I think so.
I think he probably made it pay as well.
Yeah.
Now the biggest meeting coming up on Saturday.
Cardiff, massive, a hugely important Cardiff Grand Prix. I think after certainly after last year,
They can't do that.
they can't afford. They can't afford to get this one wrong. They've absolutely got to get the track right. The forecast I think for the weekend is certainly a bit more pleasant than it was last weekend. Obviously, I know you can't do much about the weather, but of course last year it was held during that pretty horrific heat wave that we had. And obviously my personal memories of last year was the fact that 2 days afterwards I got COVID, so obviously got the Cardiff
Cardiff
variant. Yeah, so massive Cardiff Grand Prix. Hopefully, it will be better this year. I fully expect, and I'm as far as I'm aware, that the ticket sales have dropped. I think a lot of people will sort of be very, very wary about. I suppose the one good thing is that with the way that the tickets are done now, of course, it's not a paper ticket anymore. It's a ticket that you buy online, so you can actually buy it on the day. So maybe some people will decide on the day or the day before to sort of, you know, go on, we'll take a chance. But they've got to get it right. If they can get it right this year, hopefully that will sort of entice a few people to maybe come back. I mean, the other thing that hasn't helped as well, of course, is that there's the blooming rail strike again at the weekend. Yeah. But you know, I'm looking forward. Since looking forward to it. It's always a great weekend. Cardiff, a fabulous city. Love going there. There's always a great atmosphere. You know, you get to you see lots of people that you only tend to see when you're in Cardiff. You know, it's just a great chance for everybody to gather together. And then obviously once the meeting's over, the majority of people just pour out, and there's it's right in the middle of the city, so you've got bars and restaurants, so it's within walking distance of everything. So everything from that sense is perfect, but they've got to get the track right. Most important thing. And they have got the track right at Cardiff in the past before. You know, I think the 2009 and 2010 Grand Prix there were very entertaining. But there's been, and obviously you had that, obviously the two famous ones at Cardiff, of course, Bombers win there in 2007 and Tony Rickardson's legendary Wall of Death, which whenever I still see that on YouTube when I look at it now. I mean, I was right on that bend, and it was just something that, did that really just happen?
Yeah.
It's one of the most astonishing pieces of speedo riding I've ever seen.
Don't you think that phrase that you just said, did that really just happen, is a sort of thing that happens in Speedway time and time again. Yeah. The number of times I've seen a rider go on the fence in a gap that wasn't there, I'm going, well, how did he get through there? That wasn't possible.
The thing is as well with that Wall of Death, Tony practically virtually rode half of the back straight with it right on the fence. So it was just an astonishing piece of riding from one of the greatest riders of all time. Yeah. So we have had magical moments at Cardiff, but the last couple of years it's really been a bit of an issue, certainly getting the track right. And hopefully, I believe that they have done a lot of work with the shale this year as well to sort of try and make it better. And fingers crossed that we'll be talking about a better Cardiff this year than we did last year.
Let's hope so. We've got a few bits of business to catch up in the shout box, so okay, so Lawrence Rogers says Planty, talking about Graham Plant, unless he's talking about Robert Plant. You never know. Was at the Brummies Fate on Saturday. I'd like some information on how well that went, by the way, guys. Unfortunately, I so wanted to be there and I couldn't. Jeff Daniels, the NSS is surrounded by houses. Back straight is just in front of house. Back gardens on Stanley Grove. Also estate opposite grandstand, and also new estate on the Greyhound track. So plenty of houses around. I feel I have to say something at this point. Can you guys please put full stops in your messages so that I can work out your sentences?
He does read them as he sees them.
Yeah. Graham and his dad Wilf on spanners. Let's talk about Planty at the Fate. Yep. Simon Corbett, train strikes again, you mentioned that. Lawrence Rogers gave Elliott a good mention. I was interviewed at Workington. What a superb setup there, the blueprint for new tracks.
That offers hope.
Absolutely.
And Oxford as well. But certainly Workington, they've been completely, I mean, I think the track was there anyway, but it's been, the whole setup has been, if it was closer, I would certainly love to chance to go up there. Yeah, and it's it looks like, I mean, I've seen the aerial shots of it, and it's right on the coast as well. It looks like a lovely little setup, and from what I can see, it looks a really, really good racetrack as well.
Fred Graham watched the coverage, and again the racing was great at Redcar Bear Speedway, even though I'm a biased Glasgow Tigers Speedway supporter. Charles Wright was lucky not to be excluded in first running of the final, but took advantage of that with a brilliant ride in the rerun. Can I just say thank you, Fred? Commas, full stops, the whole... Yeah, that was great, thank you.
That's probably Scottish.
And?
You can speak the Queen's English.
That's okay.
King's English, you mean? Not
King's
English, yeah.
Sorry, no. Sir.
Rich Thomas, apparently last train from Cardiff to Swindon on Saturday is 5:20. Not great.
No, if you're
5:20.
pushing I would have been interested in maybe trying out the train for getting over there, but you're just in too much of a rush to get back, unfortunately.
How do you normally go with a car?
We usually drive over. I mean, we have done the coaches in the past, but my only gripe with the coach is that you've got to wait for everybody else to come back, so I like to just get in the car and be able to get back.
I think we've been told off for only 2 minutes about the CLRC. I'm sorry, we're running out of time very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Lawrence Rogers says new shale down at Cardiff and being tested tomorrow behind closed doors. Okay.
Fingers crossed it works.
Duncan Pemberton, okay, question. You have one race to choose your favourite that's etched in your memory. What is it? Mine, Ray Wilson, Martin Ashby runoff for the last Wembley place for 75 World Final. 12,000 at Brandon for that race. Everyone was shouting for Ray or Martin and the race was fantastic. Have you got a favourite race?
Bonus point runoff at Peterborough. Ryan Sullivan against Michael Carlson in 1996. It's I think it's on. I don't know whether it's still on YouTube. If it isn't, it should be, because it was just such an. This was a bonus sport for one extra league points, and both riders treated it like it was a one-off for a world final. It was about. I mean, I think the lead changed hands in that race about 6 times. It was just an incredible race.
Mine was, I think, 2007. You won't be surprised to know it involved Jason Lyons. Heat 15 against Workington.
Yeah, I've seen this one before.
Yeah, and I spoke to Ulrich Ostergaard about it afterwards, because it was Ulrich and Jason Lyons for us. I can't remember who it was for Workington. And Ulrich had been given strict instructions by Jason that if you get out in front, stay on the inside.
Yeah.
Because I'm coming around the outside.
Yeah.
And Ulrich said, I did gate. Jason came out last. He said, and I was just racing as hard as I can on the inside, and I could hear these engines getting closer and closer and closer. And I thought, I felt, just felt really vulnerable, because he knew they was going to come around. And the next thing I know, Jason Lyons just come rushing. He went round all 3 of them, the two, and Ulrich in one bend. And we got the 5-1. Yeah, you may well have been. And we got the 5-1 we needed to win that match. Yeah,
I think Simon Corbett's just come up with a predictable one, the pedal against Olsen in 81. So
that was a good.
You could argue pedal against Knudsen in the same race.
I do believe we need to get on with the what do we call it?
The
Prediction League.
Nigel Pearson Speedway Tavern Prediction League.
I'm going to have that written down in front of me for future.
It's hard to remember, isn't it? Predictions. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll have a quick, very, 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 very quick look at the league. Have I reached the top yet?
Oh, sorry, I can't zoom that one in very well. I'll try and zoom this one so you can have a look. But you're round about right the way down there in the bottom.
Yeah, apologies. Obviously, it is small, but we had a lot of fixtures last week, so.
Yeah, and I'm about 20 points ahead of you still.
Yeah, but we've got a 3-way tussle for the top spot at the moment.
I'm definitely going to get all the Birmingham matches right from now on.
Do you want to go through the top few? Because I can't.
Yep, Simon Corbett, Andrew Garner, and Rich Thomas all on 190 points. Then you've got Gordon Gamble, I think it's 185, I think. Nick Matthews, 184. So it's still very, 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 very tight at the top. Yeah. So we could, it's potentially going to go all the way right to the end of the season. So
come on, then, let's go for it.
Okay,
you can all join in on the shout box if there's anybody new out there.
Yeah,
you'll probably get in front of me.
Okay, right. The first meeting. Good heavens, Paul against Birmingham,
and it's up to you.
To me?
No, it's up to Matt.
Okay.
Oh, I hate to say it, Paul by 30.
30. I'll go Paul by 18.
Okay, and I've got exactly the same prediction as you, as it happens. 30. Paul by 30.
In the past, if I said that, he'd have jumped over the table. But okay, next up on Thursday, you've got Sheffield against Kings Lynn.
That's up to you,
me, isn't it?
Chris, yeah.
I'll go Sheffield by 6.
Sheffield by 18.
Sheffield by 16. Okay, also on Thursday, Peterborough against Wolves. also in the Premiership.
Very different Peterborough team now, of course.
Last ever meeting between the two clubs as well, possibly.
Oh, I'm going to give a Peterborough 4-point win just for the memory.
Oh, I've gone Peterborough to win that one as well. I've gone Peterborough by 6.
I'll go Peterborough by 4.
Okay, we don't have many meetings, obviously, this week. Friday, of course, you've got the Championship pairs at Oxford. We'll come back to Cardiff, of course, at the end. So the next fixture on Monday is the Midlands Derby, Wolves against Leicester.
That's up to you, Matt.
I'll go for a home win on that one. I'll go Wolves by 10.
I'll go Wolves by 4.
Wolves by 12.
3 of us.
Next up, also on Monday, is Peterborough against Sheffield.
Up to me. I'll go Sheffield by 6.
I'm going to say a draw. I have to do at least one.
I'm going to say Peterborough by 4. Okay. Also on Monday, in the call it the East Anglia Derby, Kings Lynn against Ipswich. Also in the Premiership.
Mike, is it?
Yep. Kings Lynn by 2. Just got a feeling.
Ipswich by 10 also.
I'll go Ipswich. I can't say Ipswich. Ipswich by 14.
Okay, in the Championship then on Tuesday, Plymouth against Berwick. Bit of a basement battle really, that one, isn't it? I'll go Plymouth by 4 on that.
I'll go Plymouth by 10.
Plymouth by 4 as well. Talking of while we're talking about Plymouth, what's the score going?
It was 43-41, so still, obviously it's gone to a last day decider. Okay, Oxford against Scunthorpe, also in the Championship, is on Tuesday as well.
That's up to you, Chris.
Scunthorpe by 4.
Oxford by 2.
Oxford by 10.
I can just say 5-1 to Edinburgh, 44-46 to the Monarchs. Not the result we wanted, said Lawrence.
I don't care.
I don't think it really means much now, does it? So, okay, and finally, we will do Cardiff. What we'll do the same as we did for the British final. We'll have you go for the winner. You get the winner right, you get 1 point. If you get the top 3, you get 2 points. If you get the top 3 in the right order, you get 3 points.
Oh, you give me this to go first.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm going to say Ty Woffington, believe it or not. I'm going to have Schmarzlik in third. Who am I going to have in second? Leon Madsen.
Okay.
It's his sort of track, I feel. If it's working right.
Okay. I'm going to go Freddie Lindgren to win it. I'm going to go Bartosz Schmarzlik second. And I'm going to go Robert Lambert third.
Interesting.
I'll go Lindgren, Woffenden, Lambert.
Okay. We've all got it wrong.
Ben's gone Bewley, Schmarzlik and Lindgren. And Lawrence said it still does mean something. It's not over until the fat lady sings.
It's about time the fat lady sang then.
Mathematically, of course, it might not be over, but I think certainly Birmingham are going to have to improve on the performance that they gave.
Well, we're going to go and beat Paul. I'm sorry.
I'm interested in what Malcolm's said there. Steve Worrell will upset a few. I think Steve Worrell. I'm not suggesting for a minute that Steve Worrell's going to win at Cardiff, but I think he'll be a spoiler in that one because of his gating. If he gets out in front on that track, he'll be a difficult man to pass because he's quick when he gets in front.
We shall say.
It'd be great.
I wish him all the luck.
Absolutely, yeah. It'd be great to see Stevie do the business and have a really good performance at Cardiff, because I think it's a track that probably will suit him. It's not too similar in size to Monmouth, so
I'm guessing they have the roof closed. Yeah.
I believe
Yeah.
his brother has been suggesting he lose some weight. Anyway,
Oh, that's nice.
Yep, roof will be. Yeah, the roof's
history behind that,
well, I mean, the roof is closed at Cardiff even when they have the firework display, so it's. He thinks I'm joking. So.
Oh, you are joking now.
apparently Lawson's doubtful for Paul tomorrow.
He's not guesting for Birmingham, is he?
I wouldn't put it past anything at this point. Okay, so where are we? It's down to you, Matt. What's next?
That's it.
Oh, is
That's
that,
it,
that,
yes,
that's the lot?
that
Okay,
was it,
fantastic.
Weren't many fixtures this week,
Okay.
so after last week's somewhat of a marathon.
Rich Thomas says, "Good show, boys. Keep fighting for those tracks." I think we're
Well, at the end of the day, we've got to, haven't we?
yeah, we're
You know.
fighting more than the BSPL seem to be doing. So we don't know what's going on in the background, of course, but
Yeah.
that's just how it feels.
Chris Brown, they 100% do have the roof closed for the fireworks. Crikey.
There you go.
I'll get a video of them off with you on
How
Saturday,
does
and I
that-
will.
How does that work?
Well, it's quite a high roof, to be
Yeah.
fair. It's
I
not.
know
It's
it's
not a
not
lot
high,
less
yeah.
than them off it is.
Yeah.
I know it's not like a drop ceiling, but but
It's spectacular, to be fair. So it's always been, it's always a spectacular firework display there. Hopefully, but I mean, obviously, you can have all this fantastic stuff. But as I say, hopefully, the track's right.
Fred Graham with the joke of the week. Maybe Stevie Worrell should come out to the song at Cardiff of "He's Not Heavy, He's My Brother."
oh, there you go. This is a question for next week.
Yeah.
What song do you think your team should come out to?
Something with gonks in it.
Yeah. We'll have those
Right.
next.
Well,
I think we've more or less come to a natural end, haven't we?
I mean, I don't think anybody's going to beat that. So, listen, guys. What I will say is, get out there and support your team, because you just do not know how long you've got them for.
Well, if my club isn't safe, then that's a warning to everybody, because Wolverhampton
Yeah.
is one of the most secure, stable clubs in the sport.
I was just about to say, if there was a team that you thought, that's it's never going to happen to that team, would it have been Wolverhampton?
It would have been.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. That's not me being biased, that's just stating the fact.
Yeah.
Probably you could argue Bellevue as well. So
And you could have said Cradley at one point. You could have said Coventry
you
at
could
one
have said
point.
Wimbledon at one point as well, couldn't you?
Yeah,
It's-
because that's in Coventry at one point. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
wow.
I think when you think back to 2006, when it was announced that Birmingham were going to be reopening, you wouldn't have believed that 17 years later they were going to be potentially going to be the only Midlands club left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Let's finish on a positive note. Get out there, support your teams. Get out there, support other teams if you haven't got a team.
Yeah.
Speedway is important for so many people. It's sport and it's what we live for. And I'm going to go now. Have a good one, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Welcome to the Speedway Tavern.